Hi, my name is Hyung-Kwon, and I'm going to talk about our recent work, large-scale text-image generation models for visual artists' creative works. This work is a collaborative work between KAIST, Seoul National University, and Gwanmo University. These days, there are many large-scale text-image generation models. The examples are DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, and so on. So what does this model do? It's very simple. It can generate any kind of image from any text input. There are other functions as well. For example, it can give a variation of a given image, and it can synthesize image with a simple brushing interaction. There are so many LTGMs released in the last few years. Most of them were developed by big tech companies like Google, Meta, and Microsoft. We thought LTGMs can have a massive impact to visual artists who use visual idioms for their creative works. Here, one question came to us. How will they use LTGMs for what purpose? Although the models look super cool, there should be a target task and the role of these models. Therefore, this work is about the answer for this question. So let's start with the systematic literature review we performed. Before we investigate how LTGMs can be used by visual artists, we had to understand how the generative models have been used in the HCI domain. Since there were just a handful of research we could refer to regarding LTGMs, we expanded our search scope to generative models. We crawled all related publications from the 6 HCI venues, including Kai, UIST, and so on. Then we excluded the papers that do not fit with our goal. As a result, we retrieved 72 papers in total. For these 72 papers, we ran a thematic analysis to extract the themes and codes. We extracted 3 themes and several codes from each theme. The first theme is user and the second theme is task. The relevant codes to the goal of our research are artists, designers, design, and drawing. The last theme is role of generative model. Here, we could not allocate one code to a single publication, so we labeled multiple codes for a single publication. To explain each code, automation is to automate the task without any help of user interface. So, it is like a paper which suggested an algorithm to help the task. Co-work is similar to the automation, but the difference comes from the use of interface. It provides a system with a user interface to perform a specific task. Exploration is to help users' ideation process, and mediation is to facilitate communication. Next, we ran an interview study based on what we have learned through the systematic literature review. Since now we have a certain knowledge of the background the generative models have been used, we set 3 research questions to address. They are: who is the target user, what is the task, and what is the role of LTGMs in those cases? We recruited interview participants from various fields. They were all visual artists who deal with visual idiom as a main source to perform their creative works. We had a semi-structured interview using Zoom, where the interview lasted about an hour on average. We asked them questions like, how would you adopt LTGMs for creative works in your domain? Next, I would like to introduce the findings of our interview study. I will start with their potential uses. Among 28 interviewees, 12 visual artists acknowledged that LTGMs can be a new image reference search tool. LTGMs are fast, convenient, and can make a large number of high-quality images that are unique and different from one another. However, one interesting fact is that among 10 of the 12 reference seekers said LTGMs would not become a tool to shift their working paradigm. Rather, it is just another option for reference searching. Next, 20 visual artists acknowledged LTGMs would be beneficial in real-time visual communication for those who work in a company adopting a top-down decision-making procedure, commissioned to provide professional services to clients, and interact with varying artists in different fields. For instance, P8, who is a product designer, mentioned that once the client wanted a design that has both cold and warm mood at the same time. She said the best way to communicate with the client is often using visual materials, where LTGMs can be a viable means. Next, 14 visual artists said that LTGMs can help them try unconventional things and think out of the box. Interestingly, 8 visual artists directly mentioned that humans have a bias in creating art, but LTGMs do not seem to have one. LTGMs encourage visual artists to take adventurous approaches as they show what the visual artists have in mind very quickly. Lastly, LTGMs can be a tool to create artworks as well as justifying them in the fine art domains. Specifically, one modern art artist wanted to create an ugly person using LTGMs. It tried to find many images on the search engine, but it was impossible to find various images on the web, because ugly is a kind of subjective word. However, LTGMs can generate infinite number of ugly people in just a few seconds, and they look all different. Next, I also want to introduce some limitations of LTGMs and the design guidelines on how to address those limitations. So the first limitation is that LTGMs are logical machines that can only create predictable images. For example, P8, who is a product designer and studied both design and fine art in the university, said that the images generated from the text prompt "Why is an apple red?" and "celebration" are not interesting at all. What she wanted was something philosophical and meaningful that has a room for consideration, but the images are too naive for deeper analysis. To complement this, we suggest that there should be variability level specification for different types of needs. Therefore, the user should be able to manipulate which one to choose among lookup, inspiration, and reinterpretation. Specifically, lookup is providing the most relevant images to a given text input, while reinterpretation is providing images that require a long time to comprehend their hidden connections to the text input. Next, a total of 11 visual artists doubted whether LTGMs can generate images that require domain-specific understanding. For example, P3 said that the generated mobile UI screens look like existing ones, but they do not seem to reflect the user experience. As a solution, we provide a guideline that LTGMs should enable fine-tuning with dataset in a specific domain. A total of 9 visual artists pointed out that LTGMs cannot generate novel images due to their dependency on text prompting. For example, an abstract art artist mentioned that it is impossible to express what he wants to draw because the image that he wants comes from a ceaseless interaction between him and the canvas. He said the image in his mind is so vivid at first, but hard to describe with words. And if it tries to define clearly what it is, it will disappear soon from his mind. To solve this, we would like to suggest using different modalities. For example, we can use voice to express one's feeling or atmosphere for the image. Since there can be things that cannot be expressed only with text input, more user intervention with diverse modalities will make it work. Lastly, 10 visual artists regarded LTGMs as inefficient in the situations where they already have a specific goal and requirement in their mind. For example, imagine that a person wants to generate something like the leftmost image. However, when we use the text prompt like a girl with a pearl earring, generated images would be diverse like right images. To support this, we suggest that the interface should include some kind of prompt engineering functionality to make people easy to type in proper text prompt. In this case, the interface might recommend the proper word or grammar that people need to follow to get a desired image. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening.